I have a sketch today that I'm going to use as inspiration for a card. I know it's already February the 10th, but I haven't done my Valentine's cards, and I only do a couple of cards, so that's good, and I don't have to mail them. So I want to use this sketch from my Scrapbook sketchbook as inspiration for a card. The page has a lot of hearts on it, so I thought it would be perfect for Valentine's Day, but it would also be good for any kind of love card, anniversary, or anything special that you wanted to do like that. I like the big heart here, and then the row of hearts and some twine and some different layering. Of course, we're going to kind of ignore photo and journaling and turn this into a card sketch. Now, when you take a 12 by 12 scrapbook sketch and shrink it down to card size, you're probably going to leave some elements off. And as I say, we're going to kind of ignore the photo and journaling, and I'm not sure that I'm going to do these little chevron pieces here either, but I am going to do quite a few of the other elements. Now, this particular card is for my mom, so I want it to be a little bit more sophisticated card. I first went to some real cutesy kind of papers, and I thought, no, that is not her. Neutrals are really good for her, but it is Valentine's Day, and I do a lot of neutrals for birthdays and stuff. So I ended up with the Highline collection from Basic Gray. There may be a little bit of Spice Market thrown into this. These are, of course, pinks and oranges and some really pretty colors. She's not much of a pink person, but I think if I throw a little red and orange in there, it's going to work for her for Valentine's. I'm going to be using two heart punches, my large heart punch and my small one. I want to use the large heart punch over here, of course, obviously for this big one, and for the small one, I'm going to create a row of hearts. Now, what I did just to test out some of the papers is I just went along, snip, 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 punch, 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 right across just a scrap piece of cardstock, just to get an idea how things would look. We're going to do a little bit better row here in a few moments, but I was testing out some different papers, and I kind of like this one for the background, because, you know, the hearts are just going to be very random as to where they end up, but you could make one the featured heart. This one is kind of beveled here, to sort of elevated to show that on the original scrapbook page there was a special heart there. I could also do maybe something like this. That's going to be awfully busy. I really kind of like the bigger pattern. And I loved the opportunity to use some of this wood grain, maybe for some of these layers here. There's a couple of different layers of papers, and then there's a piece that would lay on the card base. So I've got several different choices for papers. What I want to start with, though, is some kind of paper that the hearts are going to punch out of. So let's see what color would be good for that piece and for the card base. I'm probably going to do a pink and an orange. So let me go and grab some cardstock. I have my cardstock deck. I do have a video on this, and I'll try to remember to link that up. People have asked about this before. This, I use Stampin' Up! Cardstock, and I used to use a lot of Paper Tray ink. I'm not been buying from them lately just because I had more cardstock than I needed. They make great quality product. But any cardstocks that you wanted to use could work in the cardstock deck, where you just organize it like a paint deck. So going through here, I first looked at some darker reds, and then I decided I would rather do one of the orange colors for the part where the hearts are going to be punched out of, since I wanted to emphasize that more than the pinks. So I picked Peach Parfait from Stampin' Up! It's an older color, and then a light color called Sweet Blush from Paper Tray ink for the card base. So I've got my Peach Parfait. My sketches are 6 by 6 when they print, so that when you use them on a 12 by 12 scrapbook page, you can just double the measurement of any item and know exactly what it needs to be for the scrapbook page. But for a card, I usually do a 5.5 inch wide card, and that's what that pink piece is there. But I think, you know, this was one I'm just giving out by hand. I don't have to mail it. So I'm going to go ahead and use 6 inches going across. That'll make it really easy to space my hearts. And I'll just get a little bit larger piece of that Sweet Blush paper. So I'm measuring up. This is going to be what will be the back side. And marking the middle heart, and I decided just to make it simple, and the middle one is 3 inches, and the others are 1 inch, 2 inch, 3 inches, 4 inches. So I'm just using my little heart punch and putting it on each of the little marks that I made at the inch point.
And now I have a nice even row, evenly spaced hearts. And I went ahead and I remarked where I wanted to cut it at. I didn't think I wanted to cut it maybe quite as large as what the sketches. Of course, you can always modify sketches. And now I'm playing around and seeing where I want to cut, what point I want to cut out of the paper. I know I'm going to put something to emphasize that little heart. And then I remembered that I had these little pop drops. They're from October Afternoon. And I knew there was a heart in there. Unfortunately, there was a pink one left, one that matched my paper here. And I just kept moving this around until I finally found a place where the heart, where I would have a solid one at the fourth one over. Happened to be there in the lower right-hand corner. And I'm going to cut this by hand and then just glue it to the back of the orange piece of paper. So some of the hearts will have multiple colors in them. They're not going to be too busy. But you'll still be able to see them quite clearly since we're using cardstock for the front. I did end up with a little bit of extra there on the bottom, and I'll just trim that off by hand later on once it dries. Now for the heart that's going up at the top, I thought I'd use some washi tape for the base of that. So I pulled out my papers here so I could see what colors I want to match to. Pulling out a few washies. I considered a gold because that's a really good color from my mother, but it just doesn't go with the rest of the papers. I pulled out some red, and I end up going back and getting one more orange here in a minute. And what these are going to do is just lay across a piece of regular cardstock. Because you're not going to see that. And then later on we'll punch out a heart and lay on top of the washi strips. And of course you could do the same thing with pattern paper. You could stamp a heart and put up here, either way. Alright, I went back and got a larger piece of the Sweet Blush cardstock. It's 11 inches is the largest size that Paper Tray Ink uses. So my card is going to be 5.5 inches high and 6.5 inches wide. And that way I can have some border there to put some of that pretty paper with the orange at the top. I've got another paper here I thought about using as the base, but it's a little too little girly. I don't know. It's really not, but it's just my mother's not a pink person. So I thought I'd stick more with the oranges. I do end up using a little bit of it, though, to punch my heart out of. And then I'll trim that down on the paper trimmer, and we'll glue the washi taped piece to the back of the piece that I've trimmed out, and I'll just trim out any extra on the washi tape part. You're not going to see any of that. And at this point we're ready just to pull all the card together and assemble all the pieces. And wrapped up my card, just adding this on with some dimensional adhesive. I did decide to put a little something up here like the sketch because I felt like it needed just a little bit in the corner to balance this heart, and I added some Lawn Fawn trim around there, and that is all. Those little things came from the rest of the pop drops. So I ended up with a very sophisticated looking Valentine. I took the punched out one and just glued it on the inside, and then I'll put my message in there, and I may even make an envelope to go with it. So this is one of the sketches from the 2014 sketchbook. If you're interested in the sketchbook, be sure and check that out on my blog. Thank you so much for watching today and for seeing how you can use a scrapbook sketch to create a card. And I hope everyone has a happy Valentine's Day.